a lot of cultures have a lot of different ideas about what to do with the body after death. And I think the humanist thing to do is to not put a body in a protective box in the ground where it takes up perfectly good land for no good reason.
Yeah, 100%.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
I'm Captain James Kirk.
Spock.
Your move, Captain.
Jim Kirk of the Enterprise.
What's going on? I'm James Kirk. These people are my friend and my shipmate. Leave my crew alone.
Out of the question.
How about that?
James Kirk.
It fits like a glove, Captain.
Oh, the bonehead ideas. Gentlemen, I'm Captain James Kirk. Get out of my chair. Get out of it now.
My greetings and felicitations, Captain. So good of you and your officers to, drop in. Absolutely smashing.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead.
Hope everybody had a safe and happy new year, however you celebrated it, if you celebrated it. We were in Illinois spending some time with family that we don't get to do very often, so that was really nice. We could show up and surprise my mom.
That's awesome.
Great.
That's wonderful. I never do anything on New Year's Eve.
No.
It's too much trouble to go out and drink, and I'm not a big drinker, so...
No.
And I just want to be home, like cozy.
I'm too old for that shit. Like,
I really am.
We have talked about like, oh, let's go to one of the local, they shoot some fireworks off or whatever at midnight. I'm in bed. Forget that. I'll watch something on TV if I'm awake, but I'm probably not going to be.
Yeah, I'll probably be awake because I am every night at midnight. but I'm probably
not me, man. Bedtime is like 6:30 up in this bitch.
Really?
I'm
gosh.
so tired early.
Man, I don't know what it is. I love to stay up. I am looking forward to a new episode of Big Fat Quiz every year.
Yes,
every
that's
year.
Right.
That's what I look forward to. It's not the New Year's parties or anything any shit like that. It's a new episode of that show.
Yeah, I love Big Fat Quiz.
Me too. Do you make those New Year's resolutions?
No.
I don't either.
No, and it's not something. Our family wasn't a New Year's family anyway. Like we didn't have big a couple of years we had like all the family over. Mm-hmm. I think because I was insistent about it, like wanting to have a New Year's Eve thing. We were not the type of family to like host parties and, stay up all night and be wild and shit like that. My grandfather had he would always come down and shoot off some Black Cat firecrackers at midnight. And that was that.
Yeah.
If you wanted the good shit, you had to go to Indiana because Illinois didn't sell it.
We were terrible. We were back years ago when I was married. We were the loud people in the neighborhood. We had New Year's Eve parties. We got the illegal fireworks every year to where we had an actual discount card with them.
Damn.
We would buy probably $300 to $400 of fireworks every New Year's, and then we'd be the loud one and setting them off in the middle of the street. We had some epic parties. But I mean, these days, I don't even have the energy.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Okay, well, let's get into our episode today. We're reviewing Star Trek, the original series, Season 1, Episode 17, The Galileo 7.
Sir, contact with an object. It's moving toward us. No visual contact yet.
Deflectors, full intensity.
Sula, yes, Captain. Anything on your scanners?
It's coming at light speed.
Collision course, visual contact.
Anything, over?
All wavelengths dominated by ionization effects, sir.
All engines full stop.
The Enterprise is en route to Macus 3 with medical supplies. Murasaki 312 is along the path, and that's a quasar-like formation. Perfect for some sciencing.
it's like a green thing of gas, green gas bubble.
Galactic High Commissioner Ferris is on board, and that's a title I'll be happy if we never fucking hear again.
Yeah, he was a dickhead in a way.
They just, the Galactic High Commissioner, they're just really trying to space shit up.
Yeah.
A little too hard this time.
Yeah.
So this guy steps off the turbo lift, and the first thing I thought was, holy shit, was this the inspiration for the Discovery uniform?
Oh, that come to think of it, yeah.
It looked It looked a lot like what
Yeah.
the blue Discovery uniforms were.
Yeah.
Ferris is annoyed. He doesn't want to stop and do science. He wants the medical supplies delivered. And Kirk points out that they're 3 days away from Marcus, and the rendezvous doesn't take place for 5 days, so I got a couple days. And he also says he's under orders to investigate any quasars or quasar-like phenomena. And I thought this was a shitty argument. Like, a standing order is fine. But
it's not going to go anywhere. It's not like the quasar phenomena is going to go anywhere.
Like, log it and come back. If they were on their way to an emergency, they would have left.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they think we've got 48 hours, so we can study it. We're in and out, no problem. What could go wrong?
Never ask that question. Kirk radios down to Spock in the shuttle bay, who's getting the Galileo shuttle ready for launch. And we get the first ever visuals of like a shuttle launch here. It would have been nice to have this budget a few episodes ago when Sulu was freezing his ass off down on that planet.
I know, right? Yeah, and they didn't, I don't think they had a shuttle at that time. Mm-mm. So yeah.
On board the shuttle, we have Spock, Scotty, Dr. McCoy, Lieutenants Latimer, Gaetano, and Boma, and Yo-Woman Mears. The inside of this shuttle, man, they spared no expense for this shit.
This was terrible. The seats looked so horrible. Bad. The seats were like bus station seats in a way, and they're no cushion. Looked terribly uncomfortable.
It's like a mom van.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a baby on board sticker on the back, and my kid is an honor student at Starfleet Academy bumper sticker, and hanging from the rearview mirror is a hang tag that says "Mom's Taxi." That's what this reminds me of. It reminded me of the van my mom used to drive when I was a kid.
Yep.
Anyway, they're starting to get close to this quasar, and their systems go all wonky. Radiation is increasing. They're being pulled in. They can't stop forward momentum, and they can't contact the Enterprise.
Of course not.
Once again, I don't feel like they didn't. I didn't feel like they really sold the danger happening in this scene.
Yeah.
Like Spock is calmly calling 911, and you'd expect that because he's a Vulcan.
Right.
But everybody else was like just way too calm, I think, for the situation.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they can't control their ship. They can't communicate. So, I mean, that's pretty big danger. There's electrical interference, and none of their sensors are working. So they did try to communicate back to the Enterprise, and Uhura is able to make out the words "blown off course." Yeah. That's it. So now Kirk is like, great, now we've got to rescue them.
Mm-hmm.
But then, did you notice Ferris is standing behind Kirk with a kind of a smirk on his face, like as if to say, I told you so. I told you, motherfuckers, just go when I told you to, instead of you had to go off exploring quasars.
Kirk gets some data from the computer and tells Ferris that the phenomena has ionized the entire sector, and none of their instruments are going to work because of it.
Oops.
And he compares this to finding a needle in a haystack, saying that would be child's play in comparison to what they're doing now. And you get Kirk does this frustrated sigh that leads us into the theme song. After the theme, Kirk and Ferris get into an argument. Again, Commissioner Timekeeper is worried about the medical supply delivery. Kirk's worried about his crew, and the Timekeeper doesn't think they have a chance of finding the shuttle in that massive phenomenon, and shouldn't have sent the shuttle in the first place. I tried to tell you. Did you notice the cheap paper coffee cups they were carrying around in this scene?
No.
It was
Who had them?
so cheesy.
I didn't.
I think it was Kirk and the Commissioner.
Okay.
Yeah. Cheap paper cups.
Again, on the bridge with liquid.
Yes. Uhura picks up one planet nearby that can support life, Taurus 2, unexplored and right at the center of the Murasaki effect. So Kirk orders Sulu to set a course.
The Galileo ends up having to make an emergency landing on this Taurus 2. And like everybody's okay, but except Boma, he's got like a nosebleed.
Yeah. Everybody's a little banged up. Chairs are flipped over, and McCoy gets to work making sure everybody's all right. Boma figures that the electromagnetic field yanked them into the center of the effect, and Spock agrees. Spock goes into command mode. He tells Scotty he's got a lot of work to do on the shuttle. McCoy gets tasked to report on the atmosphere. Yo Woman should be recording everything that happens. And Gaetano and Latimer grab some phasers, go outside, and get the hell out of Scotty's way.
So McCoy says that the atmosphere is breathable as long as you're not running in a marathon or running in a competition. So it's got argon, neon, and krypton at acceptable quantities.
As they left the shuttle, sad to say it, there's those fucking weird fabric belt things again.
Oh, did they? The brown suede cloth.
Yep.
Phaser belts.
We have seen them more than I remember having seen them on like previous watches. I'm very surprised to see them so much.
They're not functional.
I didn't think they lasted this long.
Mm-mm.
Spock and McCoy discuss their odds of being found. Spock knows that the Enterprise will be looking without instruments and suggests they may be stranded for a very long time. Back on the Enterprise, they're still running blind. Uhura's got nothing on comms. Sulu's got nothing on sensors. The transporter room beamed down some inert materia, and it came back all fucked up.
So can't use that.
Can't use those. And the whole time this is happening, Commissioner Timekeeper is just casually leaning against the bulkhead. Yeah.
Smug. So
He's got his arms crossed and his smirk on his face. They do this shit a lot in Star Trek where there's some ambassador or whatever on the bridge badgering the captain about staying on the main quest whenever they try to start a side quest.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, take a look at Book 19, Section 443, Paragraph 12, like quoting regulations at Kirk about having authority over the mission. We see that time and time again in Star Trek.
So meanwhile, back on the TOS 2, McCoy is just poking at Spock about, hey, this is your big chance for command. Like, here they are stranded, and he's going to, like, bug him about that. He knows that Spock thinks that logic is the best basis for command. And Spock says, yes, I'm indeed logical. And McCoy's like, it's going to take more than logic to get them out of this.
Mm-hmm.
But Spock says logic is the best place to start. But even in these circumstances, he still doesn't enjoy the idea of command, and he's not frightened of it either. So, which I love about him is that he doesn't want the limelight, but he'll always do what's necessary.
Yep.
And he says he'll do what logically needs to be done. I was like, mic drop. This is a mic drop.
Spock excuses himself back into the shuttle where he hands Scotty looks like an old RAM chip, like a DIMM memory chip. Scotty points out that they lost too much fuel. Here we are again.
Fuel. I'm like, they still have fuel.
So they couldn't reach escape velocity. And if they want to at least get into orbit, they'll have to shed 500 pounds. And Spock says the weight of 3 grown men. Cut to McCoy's face like, what the fuck?
I mean, just nonchalantly, 3 grown men.
And he suggests maybe 500 pounds of equipment instead. But Spock's like, we need every piece of equipment that we have just to get out of here. So step on the scale, please.
Yeah. So he's like, knows he's going to have to make a difficult decision of which 3 crewmen to leave behind in order that the rest may survive. And I don't know. I don't know that it's like Spock to just, he's always going to try to save everyone, I thought. But this one, he was like, okay, I don't think, as you said, I don't think they did a good job of showing how dire this was.
Yep. Something you just said made me think back to our episode with Caridian. What you said about, Spock having to make a decision between who to save and who to let die. Mm-hmm. And that, for a hot second, made me think of Caridian being in the position he was in as Kodos.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Having to decide.
Yeah. And then looking like a murderer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's heavy. Yeah.
Boma's like, cool. Who's deciding who stays behind? And Spock says it's on him. He's in command.
Well, that's not making him any friends. He's like, I'm better qualified to make this decision than anyone.
Yep. I'll make a logical decision.
But then McCoy's like, well, life and death are seldom logical.
Mm-hmm.
But then back again with this banter between McCoy and Spock. But Spock says, but obtaining a desired goal always is. So then he tells them to go out and inspect the hull in case they've overlooked something. And so he goes out. Boma says the only thing that he's overlooked was Spock's head.
Yes. That was a great line. The only damage is when they put his head together.
Yeah. McCoy says not his head, his heart.
Yeah.
Indicating
so
or
logic
hinting,
versus emotion stuff again.
Yeah, hinting that he doesn't have a heart. Which, like, that whole notion that you can't have both.
Right.
Which I think is really good portrayal here of all logic or all emotion.
Gaetano and Latimer are climbing around the foam rock playsets now with a fog machine, and they're hearing some spooky scraping sounds. They aren't sure where it's coming from.
Okay, those sounds. We both lived in Florida. Did it not remind you of the frogs at night after rain?
No, I didn't get that at all.
Oh no, they're so loud, and I'm like, that's what it reminded me of. Summer night after it rains, you know how loud it is. It's so super fucking loud. That's like, it's just frogs in Florida. Some Florida frogs.
They climb up to the top of a rock, and this giant looking creature, we can only see it from behind.
Man, bear, pig!
I'm here to educate you about the single biggest threat to our planet. I'm talking, of course, about man-bear pig.
Man, bear, pig? I don't know. That's the first thing I thought. It's man, bear, pig.
It's like wearing a fur coat and throwing these large spears at our brave expendables.
Those spears are so shittily aimed.
This whole, I think I have a diatribe later, but I'll do it now. The whole thing with these spears, like they drop into frame more than they fly into frame.
Yes, and you know why? Because of the way the props are made. The actual spear wood part of it is heavier than the actual tip. Yeah. So they can't throw like a spear. And they're literally like dropping their back heavy or bottom heavy. And I'm like,
it looks so fake.
Terrible.
Bad.
I know, like we're weapons experts. Listen to us, weapons experts.
Well, the spear lands right in the back of Latimer, and down he goes.
Oh my God! They've killed
Poor Latimer.
you bastards!
They hear this all the way over at the shuttle, and Spock and Boma go running to respond. Spock's like, "You in the red shirt, get me AED. You in the purple shirt, call 911. Come back to me." Gaetano starts firing his phaser left and right, but they don't show what he's shooting at. And it's phaser fire into commercial.
So I guess Gaetano was able to drive them away somehow, and then Spock and Boma find him, but he's kind of just like staring at the body and just in shock, he's dead.
We don't see Latimer on the ground. What we do see is this giant spear sticking straight up.
So at first, I thought, where's that pole coming from? Because I didn't realize until Spock comes over and fucking yanks the spear out of his back and examines the spear. Like, I didn't even realize that was Latimer laying there until I thought it was just a pole. And so I thought it was very crude how he did that. Mm-hmm. And he's looking at the spear and he's like, Folsom Point, which is like maybe an Indian warhead or
it's like found in the American Southwest. Yeah. Like an arrowhead. Yeah.
And then he's talking about the weapon and how it's crude and it's not very efficient. And again, he rubs people the wrong way by taking all the emotion out of it and just commenting on not the fact that Latimer is laying there dead, but the fact that the weapon was crude and not very efficient.
And Boma's like, the fuck, it was efficient enough to kill my buddy.
Right.
The hell, man.
And Spock's like, well, my concern for the dead will not bring him back to life, Mr. Boma. He was just like...
I think that Spock needs to learn that people grieve differently.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a valuable life lesson, I guess. Gaetano and Boma, every time I see Boma, it reminds me of a restaurant. There's a restaurant at Animal Kingdom Lodge at Disney World at the hotel called Boma. It's like Flavors of Africa or a Taste of Africa, something like that. But cool. I can't hear that name without thinking
of food.
Of good food. Yeah. So Gaetano and Boma want to take the body back, and Spock's like, that shouldn't be a problem, but it is a problem. That's 1/3 of the 500 pounds they need to drop. Just leave the body there.
He's like, fine, it won't interfere with the repair efforts. But when he offers to help them, they're like, no, we've got it. Yeah. You know, they're just really pissy with him, but they have no respect for him anyway, just because he's a Vulcan and he doesn't process things the way that they do because they're so emotional and he isn't. I mean, it's not that he isn't emotional. It's not that he doesn't feel, but he just doesn't.
He doesn't show it.
Act on it.
Yeah.
And let that drive him. And I feel like if you've ever dealt with someone who is not necessarily, well, I guess autistic or processes emotions in a different way.
Yeah.
I think people sometimes get angry with them because they don't react.
Right.
Doesn't mean they don't feel.
Right.
I had a problem with their whole attitude towards him.
Well, it doesn't get any better.
No.
Back on the Enterprise, Kirk's starting to get more worried with each passing hour. They've got the Columbus shuttle out there now doing a strategic search of the planet, but not finding anything. Scanners are still down, so is the transporter, and Kirk's stress shows here in the way that he almost snaps at Uhura, but then catches himself.
He's pretty stressed.
Commissioner Timekeeper, leaning on the bulkhead again, performs the only purpose for his character to exist and reminds Kirk and the audience that the time is running out. That's the only purpose for this guy to exist. So Kirk tells engineering to try to overload power to the transporters and orders the Columbus to widen its search trajectory, which Sulu points out will leave gaps in each pass, so they're not going to be covering all the whole ground.
Ferris is like, okay, you got 24 hours, so already a day's passed. I didn't realize. And so they back in the shuttlecraft, McCoy and Yeoman Mears are the ones who were gathering some stuff off the shuttle. There's non-essential machinery. They started removing it. They've got 150 pounds.
Okay, I have a problem here.
Okay.
I'm not a maths expert. However, earlier we established we needed 500 pounds. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So McCoy hands off a couple of boxes and says that'll be 50 pounds.
Uh-huh.
And they could probably scrape together another 100 pounds. Mm-hmm. So that's 150. And Spock says that will still leave us 150 pounds overweight.
Oh, you're right.
That's a total of 300, not 500.
Maths.
Right?
So, yeah, good point. I think maybe they just fucked that up.
Fuck up.
Yeah,
I'm sure it was.
So they're still 150 pounds too heavy, he says.
McCoy is still shocked that they would even consider leaving someone behind. But Spock makes the argument, as clear as we've heard it yet, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one.
Yep. But then, so this is something that is absolutely ridiculous and out of place. Boma announces hey, we're ready for Latimer's funeral. Really? A funeral?
Right? Yes.
I'm not a soldier.
Right.
But if you have dead and wounded or, mortally wounded, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
If you have time and if you need to be doing something else, like working on the ship to survive.
Right. And that's the argument Spock makes. He's like, yeah, we don't have time for this, and suggests that McCoy go and say a few words instead of Spock.
Right.
But, they argue back and forth a little bit. Spock believes his duty is to continue repairs, and McCoy says, we may all die here. At least let us die like men, not machines. Another jab at Spock.
It's if a funeral when you're about to, who cares?
Right.
Who the fuck cares? That person's gone.
Yeah. See, I have different feelings about it for different reasons that come up later.
Okay. I just think, if they were going to stay there, fine, but it serves no purpose.
Right. Try to get away first. And if that doesn't work and you crash back down, then you can bury people.
Yeah.
They made it very clear throughout the episode that everyone's kind of against Spock's command decisions.
Yeah.
Even McCoy in ways, perhaps even bordering on being personally against Spock or racially against Spock.
To me, it's very blatant that it's a racial thing or a speciesist thing because we can equate that today to being racist.
Yeah.
If he had been human, maybe not so much resistance. I don't know. Although we've seen people be insubordinate to Kirk, but not so bad.
No, and not to this level at all.
Yeah.
Bad news bears, there's a hiss coming from the panel that Scotty and Spock are working in, and Scott reports that all the fuel is gone.
Oh, fuck.
fuel again. Great line for Spock here. He's like, well, that solves the problem of who to leave behind. Oh, see, Spock's got a sense of humor.
Does.
He just in his own way.
I love it. I absolutely adore him. I adore Spock.
McCoy and Yo Woman, only in the episode for sex appeal, rush into the shuttle.
Whatever.
There's some commotion outside, and Spock's super ears pick up the sound of wood rubbing against leather.
Oh my.
Again, Florida bullfrogs are...
The general consensus is that these creatures are probably tribal, and Boma suggests hitting them hard, Cobra Kai style.
Strike first, strike hard, no mercy, sir!
Hopefully that would just persuade them to not bother them again. So McCoy and Gaetano agree that this is a logical course of action. Of course, Spock is not 100% on board with it. He says, okay, there's logic to the plan, but he doesn't like unnecessary violence towards other forms of life. And he says, I'm always appalled at the low regard humans have for life.
Yeah. Which, as if he didn't just completely ignore the fact that Latimer was speared in the back.
Well, he's dead, so he's no longer life anymore.
Yeah.
But I mean, in it's life or death, and he's now a dead body, though. That's
true.
Me, I don't know.
In the end, they all agree, but Spock is wrestling with the dichotomy that attacking these creatures first is the most logical course of action, but also that taking life without reason is highly illogical.
Right.
So he's got a logic struggle going on.
So this whole exchange is really interesting because Gaetano's like, well, the majority rules. And Spock's like, I'm not interested in the opinion of the majority. Mm-hmm. He's like, all the components have to be weighed, the danger to ourselves and the duty to other life forms, friendly or not, which I'm like, I love him. I'm so in love with him.
So Spock proposes a third option. He sends McCoy and Yo Woman Pretty Face back to help Scotty while Spock, Gaetano, and Boma go after the creatures. But Spock is very clear that they'll only shoot to frighten, not to kill. Gaetano gets up in Spock's face here. He wants vengeance for his buddy.
Yeah. But that's honestly, I thought they all went through Starfleet and they had this kind of you would think they had some kind of psychological training or, don't in the field, you've got to have a level head and you've got to be logical and they just don't. I guess they did.
And not go at your superior officer like these guys do.
No, that insubordination.
Yep.
No, they would have been gone.
Off they go into the foam rock playset. Now there's fog machines and dry ice on the ground. And they don't get very far before another giant spear comes dropping in. Spock turns and shoots up into the rocks, and the creature throws down its giant shield. This is another opportunity we get here to see the scale. Right. The first was we got to see the spear sticking out of what's-his-name's back.
Yeah.
And get kind of the scale of the item there. And so here we get to see this shield, and this thing is massive.
Huge.
It's like a little trampoline. Okay. They've knelt down in the mists now, and Spock's excellent hearing puts the creatures directly ahead, and several of them. So Spock orders them to shoot at 10 and 2. But Gaetano's trigger happy still.
Still wants to argue.
Just go in there and shoot him straight on. What are you waiting for? But Spock's calling the shots here. So they take positions, fire phasers into the void, and Spock says, well, now they'll think twice before, bothering us again. But Gaetano still thinks they should have killed them. And despite knowing this, Spock leaves him there alone to stand watch while he and Boma return to the shuttle. Let's leave Itchy Finger out here to stand watch.
He wants to draw some blood. I mean, let him. He can't be trusted to do what he's supposed to do, but fine. You want to stand guard and stay in communication with the ship.
Remember earlier when Spock refused to host a funeral because time was of the essence and he needed to keep working? Mm-hmm. Well, Spock returns to the shuttle and McCoy, Scotty, and Yo Woman Legs are just sitting around fucking off, not doing a damn thing.
Well, poor is it Scotty that's in the floor?
He wasn't at this point. They're all sitting around in their chairs fucking off. Yeah.
They're useless. I think Spock is the only one who's trying to, and they're useless. Gaetano wants to kill everyone. Yep. And Spock is the only one who wants to actually get the hell out of there.
Scotty's got an idea, though. He wants to adapt the shuttle to run off the energy of their phasers. So we get another conundrum here. The phasers are their only defense, but they're also now the only hope for leaving the planet. So which risk do you take? Spock starts collecting up phasers and expositions the timeline for us here. The creatures won't be back for a few hours. Hopefully they'll be gone by then, and they won't have to hold orbit for very long because the Enterprise will have to abandon their search soon anyway. Back on the Enterprise, they've got a successful transporter test, and Kirk orders landing parties to beam down, despite not even knowing where to begin.
Which is interesting that they were able to... Why can't they find them?
Right.
If
I can beam you down, why couldn't I locate them on the surface to beam them up?
Yeah.
Great question.
I was like, why?
Great question.
Why are they able to beam someone down now? Well, they could have just locked onto them and beamed them up. But I know they had to create drama, so.
Right. There was some dumb shit in this next scene. Gaetano's getting boulders lobbed at him now.
Oh, yeah.
And it seems like the first one not only knocks his phaser away, but he's like holding his hand like, shit, this hurts. Like maybe it's broken or something.
Okay, why not get your phaser?
Well, then he makes a move to go after the phaser, and another giant spear flies in or drops in. I'm sure these things were really hard to work with. But
this is when we see this is when we get a back shot of the creature. And it's like ridiculous. It's supposedly 10 to 12 feet tall or something. Mm-hmm. It's just like, it looks like they took all of the costumes, the furry costumes that they had, and just patched this shit together. Like the man-bear pig. It's like man-bear pig.
There's no scientific proof, no real evidence of a man-bear pig.
Well, there's a lot of smart people saying man-bear pig is real.
Yeah, and a lot of smarter people saying it isn't, okay? What you need to understand, Susan, is that everyone has an agenda.
And it's utterly ridiculous. Apparently, poor Gaetano, he got hit by a rock.
So he gets his hand smashed by a rock.
Yep.
And then,
he tries
as
to
if
climb
by magic, he's fine to climb.
Yeah.
He turns around and climbs a wall.
But he still dies.
Yeah. Yeah. He slips back down, and then one of these man-bear pigs approaches. And he walks up. It's so stupid. It's very Monster of the Week because he's got his hands like outstretched and sort of up.
Yeah.
On either like zombie walking towards him. So cheesy. The creature moves in Gaetano, and the last thing we hear is his screaming.
Oh my God! They've killed
Mr. Gaetano.
you bastards!
Good. I mean, I ain't mad. I don't like him. So Spock, McCoy, and Boma go back to get Gaetano, and they go to his last known position, but he's not there. But Spock sees his phaser on the ground, and then he tells Boma and McCoy just go back to the craft, and he's like, here, take it. Let's use his phaser. He's not going to need this anymore. He's probably dead. So Boma is like, no. But then Spock gives him his own phaser as well. He's just trying to figure out what happened to Gaetano.
Yep.
But he's still not gaining fans because he's given Gaetano's phaser, and Boma's like, wait a minute. Yeah, we don't even know if he's dead or not.
Right.
But his bedside manner is terrible. I will admit.
McCoy always struggles to understand Spock. And in this moment, he says about Spock, he'll risk his neck locating Gaetano.
Mm-hmm.
Then if he finds him, he's just as liable to order him to stay behind.
It's true, though.
Uh-huh.
But,
Spock comes through a pass in the foam rock playset, and there's Gaetano's body laying on a rock.
Mm-hmm.
Spock scoops him up like firefighter style and carries him off as he retreats. Giant spears start flying again.
Terribly thrown. Again, back heavy.
I don't know if you caught this or not, but the second spear they threw definitely hit them.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Like bounced off his arm or something. Like you could see that
I have to go watch it again.
It wasn't supposed to hit, but it definitely did. They're almost back to the shuttle now, and McCoy and Boma come out to help take Gaetano. Everyone's back in the shuttle now, door shut, and Scotty's still working on the power systems.
Now, here's where everybody's sitting around. Like, Scotty's working in the floor.
And everybody else is fucking off.
Yeah, they're just sitting there watching him and doing nothing.
Spock is confused. Logically, the creatures should have stayed away after their show of force, but they didn't. Well, anytime logic is failing, McCoy's nearby to make the case for the irrational.
Yes, he is. I hate it.
He makes the argument that there was no reason to expect these creatures to react rationally in the first place. Spock should have also anticipated an emotional reaction.
Mm-hmm.
There's some general arguing amongst the crew when the shuttle rocks real hard, and we cut outside and see one of these man bear pigs atop the shuttle, smashing it with a large rock.
And I don't remember seeing its face. I don't remember what its face looked like. I'll have to go look.
I don't either.
Look at it again. But it's supposedly 10 to 12 feet tall.
Right.
I forgot to look at his face.
Boma's lost all composure at this point. He's yelling at Spock about how tired he is of his logic, but Spock doesn't seem to notice. He's too busy trying to figure out how
he could have gotten it wrong.
Yeah, I made all the right decisions. I followed logic. Every decision I made was sound.
So McCoy says, anger is not rational, and so Spock says he's not responsible for their unpredictability, because McCoy's like, well, they could be angry, and that could be why they came back. And so McCoy says that they're perfectly predictable to anyone with feelings. So that's why Spock couldn't use his logic to predict, because he wasn't, in a way, putting himself in their shoes. And you can't assume that everyone is as logic as he is.
Right.
That's the only place he went wrong. Otherwise, I agree with him 100% on everything he did. I stan him. Okay.
Okay. Scotty needs another hour or two to get the ship up and running, and the creature is still smashing that rock against the shuttle. On the Enterprise, landing parties have now beamed down. Scanners are starting to come online, and Commissioner Timekeeper arrives on the bridge to remind us that we only have 2 hours and 43 minutes left.
Fuck that guy.
He wants to know what Kirk intends to do, and Kirk intends to keep searching, of course, until the very last possible moment. And finally, he kicks this commissioner off the bridge.
Get the fuck off the bridge.
Get off my bridge. On the planet, the shuttle is still a rockin', so don't come a knockin'. Spock's got an idea to use the remaining power from the shuttle to electrify the hull and fry up a critter like one of those bug lights. Bug zappers.
Bug zappers. Man bear pig zappers.
Scotty puts on these rubber gloves, these big, giant black rubber gloves, and he pops open a panel and takes what looks like a tuning fork or something and shoves it up against the panel.
He's like, Spock tells everyone to get in the middle and don't touch any panels.
Yeah. So he's crossing the positive and negative or something, and the whole thing lights up, starts throwing sparks. 3 times he zaps the power until finally they have to stop or they won't have enough power for ignition.
Yep.
Okay, so we have a fuel, an undisclosed fuel type.
And we have batteries. Yeah. And then we still have whatever the phasers are going to be doing to give them impulse.
None of it makes sense to me at this point.
Yeah. Boy, can't wait till we get to Voyager or TNG where the science gets really complex.
Yeah. Well, this seems to have worked, at least in the short term. Spock says as soon as they realize they're not seriously hurt, man bear pigs will come back. So we bought us a little time, and Spock orders them to check the aft compartment again for anything they might be able to dump to lighten the ship. And Boma points out that Gaetano's body is back there. So now Boma insists on a burial for his friend, but Spock cautions that the creatures will be back. He's like, we don't have time for this. It's too dangerous. And Boma's like, look, I would be doing the same thing even if it were for you.
Well, McCoy kind of scolds him for saying that. And Boma's like, well, I'm sick and tired of this machine, meaning Spock. And I just took offense to that.
Yeah.
But finally, Spock he's like, fine, you whining fuckers,
If you're not going to drop it, do it.
But provided that the creatures will permit it, you go ahead and bury them if you want to, and you get eaten, fine,
Meanwhile, on the Enterprise, Landing Party 2 beamed back up with casualties. 1 dead, 2 injured. Lieutenant Kelowitz explains they were attacked by giant furry creatures, 10, maybe 12 feet tall.
Furries.
Commissioner Timekeeper bursts back on the bridge. I guess it's time for a time update. Time's up. He's assuming command now and orders Kirk to drop the search and to continue to the medical supply drop-off in the main quest. So Kirk orders Uhura to have the landing parties beamed up and recall the Columbus, and Sulu to set a course for Machus 3. All the search parties have returned, and they have 23 minutes before Columbus returns. Yo Woman Hot Lips is trying to call the Enterprise, but there aren't any cell towers on this planet. Scotty's work is done. they should be able to get out and into orbit. And worst case scenario, they could cut out with enough fuel to land safely back on the planet again.
But according to Uhura, though, the Columbus is coming back, and they've got 23 minutes for it to be docked. So Kirk feels like that. Okay, that's 23 minutes more I can search.
Spock gives them 10 minutes to bury Gaetano, and then they'll try to lift off.
But apparently, draining phasers takes a really long time.
Apparently,
I'm like, that took like a whole almost a day.
It's like, you know, the travel charger things that you can get to charge your phone with.
Slow ass.
It takes for fucking ever.
This wasn't one of those USB-C connectors for the phaser.
Yes.
Fast charging.
Cut to the shuttle bay with Columbus returning. This was a really fun shot. I really am glad they got the money to finally do this kind of stuff with the shuttle pulling back into the shuttle bay. So cool. Anyway, Uhura reports landing parties and Columbus are back. They're ready to leave, and Kirk orders Sulu ahead space normal speed. Here's another measurement we've never heard before and doesn't.
Was that a code or something to Uhura? Or like, was that just a code to the bridge to leave out Ferris to say, hey, we're going to go as slow as possible?
Yeah. Sulu's surprised by this order, though, so it must be pretty slow.
Yeah.
And they'll continue scanning behind them as they pull away from the planet. Spock, McCoy, and Boma are standing next to what looks like 2 body-sized mounds of dirt. Like, despite having no shovels or other tools with which to scoop this dirt over the bodies of their dead.
Right. They managed to dig a grave or 2.
And right away, the spears start flying, followed by a boulder that slams into Spock and pins him up against the rock wall. Spock's yelling for everyone to leave and leave him behind.
Because, I mean, of course, why would he not be willing to do what he would ask someone else to do?
And it's the logical decision.
Yeah.
I'm stuck under this rock.
I'm dead weight.
I can't get out. You guys go save yourselves. Yeah. Boma and McCoy rush over and pull the boulder off of him. They're not going to leave him behind.
Yeah.
And so then they all race to the shuttle. And I was a little confused here because they try to take off and Scotty says they should be going, but Spock says they're holding us down. I didn't see any man-bear pigs outside the shuttle.
They didn't
when everybody jumped in.
Yeah, I don't know. It's 1960, 7. So come on. We just have to imagine it with our.
Anyway, Spock takes over the controls and uses the boosters, even though doing so means they won't be able to hold orbit. And when they start moving, Yo Woman Legs leaps from her seat and into a position that I can only describe as frog-like. Did you catch this moment?
What?
Or maybe cowgirl. Or reverse cowgirl. You couldn't tell.
Oh my.
She was like on her knees, splayed out, like on the ground.
Okay.
Like on the floor.
Like downward dog
Almost.
or calf to cow. One of those yoga poses.
I don't know, but it was the weirdest position. And she stays that way the whole time while the shuttle is going up. She never gets up and gets back in her seat.
There's extra seats, lady. I mean, shit, so that just makes any sense.
The only reason she's in this episode is for sex.
Yeah. She
Serious.
had no
purpose. She didn't
even have a lot of lines.
Time.
Yeah.
Yeah. She wasn't even the timekeeper. Well, we get a fun shot of the shuttle pulling away from the planet, and then we're right back inside where Spock is admonishing them for not leaving him behind, which of course would have been the logical thing to do. McCoy's turn to say he's sick and tired of Spock and his logic. They've got just enough fuel for one orbit around the planet, and then they'll burn up, re-entering the atmosphere. Scotty reminds Spock that earlier he said there were always alternatives. But Spock's like, yeah, I was probably wrong about that.
Like, yeah. McCoy, he looks for any opportunity for Spock to be wrong. He's like, at least he's lived long enough to hear that.
Spock's like, yeah, I was probably wrong about that. And McCoy's like, hold on a second. Let me get my voice recorder app open here. Can you say that one more time?
We're about to die, but I'm still going to be petty.
Yep. Spock is certain that the Enterprise has left already and says he does not believe in angels. And I've got to imagine that was a difficult thing to say on the television in the 1960s.
Oh,
I don't believe in angels. Holy shit.
Yeah. I love it, though. Yeah. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall to see the reactions. Or you know how like they are today with everything that happens on a TV show that's controversial, there's a news article about it. But I wonder if it was like that back then.
I feel like these were the things that they snuck past the goalpost.
Yeah, Gene Roddenberry, go ahead.
Spock saying it, you know?
Yeah, it's not
is
human.
Different. Right. Right.
So I like it.
Good science fiction is always a reflection of ourselves.
Yeah.
Spock tries to radio the Enterprise, but it's mostly static. And without any warning, Spock flips some switches, jettisons the fuel, and ignites it. And everybody's like, what the fuck, Spock?
I know, but so before he did that, Scotty was estimating they had enough fuel to maintain that orbit for 45 minutes. Then Spock goes and does that, and without no warning. Like Spock
didn't even talk it through with anybody, nothing.
Spock isn't impulsive normally.
Right.
But
that gamble paid off. The burning fuel acted like a road flare for the Enterprise to see. And the remastered graphics here, I thought really nice.
Excellent.
Like the way the burning fuel looked behind the
I
shuttle.
can't even imagine what the original one looked like. It probably looked like shit.
Here, let me see if I can pull it up. What's the name of this episode?
The Galileo 7. Actually, it'll be the Galileo 5.
Okay, here we go.
Data insufficient.
Oh, it doesn't show the old one. It shows the new ones.
I bet the old one was crappy.
Kirk orders hard about, and on the shuttle, Scotty's figured out the flare idea, and he approves. He's like, I see what you did there, Mr. Spock.
You're sending up a flare, and he said it's a good gamble.
Yeah.
Although they only have 6 minutes now of orbit, so the Enterprise better see them or they're dead. So fortunately, that pays off because Sulu, something catches his eye. And then he informs the captain, and they change course 180 degrees without Ferris noticing.
Galileo is entering the atmosphere. Smoke starts coming out of the console. Temperatures are rising. Yo Woman Legs is all sweaty.
She's the only one sweaty. Everyone else is just looks uncomfortable, but she's like, oh, I'm so hot. I'm so hot. So ridiculous.
Uhura reports that transporters are locked in, and we see the shuttle crew dissolve out in the transporter beam.
Yay!
The bridge gets this information out of order, though.
Yeah.
They see the shuttle disintegrate into the atmosphere first, and then they get the call from the transporter room that they beamed up 5 people alive and well.
It's for drama.
Yep. Kirk orders Sulu to proceed to Machus 3. Here's another plot hole. When they called up and said, oh, we've just beamed in 5 persons, why wasn't Kirk's immediate reaction something to the effect of, 5?
Why
we
weren't there
sent 7?
Right.
Yeah. Which 5?
Yeah.
Right. I think we've had this happen before in an episode. Like Kirk, it could have been your friends, right? It could have been McCoy or Spock, who were one of the 2 who didn't come back.
Yeah.
Or Scotty, but he doesn't even bother to ask.
Yeah.
The button on the episode, like I'm not even going there yet. And he seems very relieved at this news. And I would guess, yes,
he was
you're
emotional
relieved to get them back.
Because he always lost them.
I know they didn't have time. I know. Because the episode was over. But
well, I
wanted that reaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all.
There's some holes for sure.
Yeah. The button on the episode, Kirk takes up McCoy's position as Spock antagonizer and asks him why, logically, knowing that igniting the fuel had virtually no chance of being seen. That seems to me like an act of desperation. And Spock says it was. But Kirk continues, now, we all know, and I'm sure the doctor will agree with me here, that desperation is a highly emotional state of mind.
Human emotional.
Yeah. How does your logic explain that? And Spock starts to explain he examined all the problem from all the different angles, and the situation was hopeless. Logic then informed him that under the circumstances, the only possible action would have to be one of desperation. Logical decision, logically arrived at. Good old Spock.
I love him.
Kirk's like, right, so you reasoned yourself into an emotional outburst?
He's like, nope.
Spock's like, I don't think I would quite say it like that, but essentially, those are the facts. And then Kirk moves in for the kill, and he says, you're not going to admit for the first time in your life you committed a purely human, emotional act?
No, sir.
And Kirk says, Mr. Spock, you're a very stubborn man. And Spock says, yes, sir.
The whole bridge, everybody else was cracking
all around the bridge.
Up.
Yep.
Good for Spock.
That laughter was super overreacted too. They were
just
it was really bad.
Acting's gotten so much better.
Yeah.
But
so let's talk about the big picture.
So I think maybe Spock had a lesson learned because he's always following logic, and nothing else. But I don't think you can do absolutes.
Right.
When you make decisions, you can't use only logic because then you kind of like push aside the human element. But then I don't think you can also use only feelings because then you do shit that's irrational.
Have you seen politics in the United States in the last decade?
Hello.
Yeah.
So you've got to weigh both by making decisions. Honestly, though, I still agree with everything Spock fucking did. I think he did the right thing. And
I think his subordinates need to be a little more respectful.
100%. Just because maybe the other theme is that just because your superior officer is different than you, doesn't make him wrong. Doesn't make him evil because he was doing it to save everyone. If they would just stop being emotional and remember that the whole goal of the freaking journey was to keep everybody safe.
Yeah.
But they were their ego. They got so tangled up with their ego and their feelings. They was in their feelings.
I think we're also learning about like not giving up hope in the face of certain death.
Yeah.
Or like there are alternatives that may not be obvious.
Yeah.
And sometimes the solution is logical. Sometimes it's emotional, but more often than not, it's probably a blend.
Yep. It's a blend. And sometimes you just got to fucking go cowboy and Spock went cowboy and take a chance. If it's a gamble, like I think he said at some point he had the only logical thing was a desperate act. So
yeah, a good example of that logic versus emotion that we look at so often in this show was the crew's insistence on performing burials.
Yeah.
There's no logic in it.
None.
But it satisfied an emotional need for the crew dealing with their loss. And so while we're on that topic, let's talk about the whole burial part of this story, because this episode makes the case that a proper burial is a respectful, conventional thing to do. And I would like to think that we're growing beyond that idea even today.
Yeah. There's people there are different options for after death. Like there's cremation, you can be turned into a tree, you can do all kinds you don't have to be put into the ground.
Right.
Which is kind of depressing for me.
And I suppose the burial is what they're talking about is more of the ritual of.
But they did bury him.
But they did bury him. Yeah. So a lot of cultures have a lot of different ideas about what to do with the body after death. And I think the humanist thing to do is to not put a body in a protective box in the ground where it takes up perfectly good land for no good reason.
Yeah, 100%.
And in this country...
Oh, and also, don't we put a bunch of chemicals in that body? So like, what's the point?
Yeah. Like, and in this country, those bodies are probably facing the east so that when Jesus comes back, the bodies rise up facing the right way from the grave. I swear to God, that's the reason they do it.
Are you serious?
That's the reason. If you go to a graveyard, cemetery, all the bodies are facing one way for a reason.
Oh my fucking God. I did not know that.
Now, I think in
That's kind of okay. That's
I think in recent years they've kind of gotten away with that as a standard.
That's
but
creepy. I didn't know that.
For the most part, yeah, everybody's facing the same way because Jesus might come back.
Yeah. Now I'm going to go visit some graveyards and get my compass out.
There you go.
Oh my goodness.
That's the theory. I'm thinking donate my body to science, right? Especially as a trans person on hormone therapy for a really long time. There's some shit you can learn about my body, right?
Yeah.
And then when you're done with that, whatever's left, if you want to put me in a tree pot or sprinkle me somewhere, I really don't care because I'll be dead.
You'll be dead.
Yeah.
And it's when people die, it's more about the people left behind and how they want to honor your life.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you can have a say in how that happens.
Yeah.
Before you die. So that it's still, it honors your beliefs or
right.
So
yeah,
but that's a good one.
All that focus on burials was just weird.
It's dead, Jim.
We are assembled here today to pay final respects to our honored dead.
And now it's time to honor the dead.
Latimer went out to scout the area and got a spear to the back. Gaetano was in mass hysteria. Ensign O'Neill, Columbia away team on the ground. He got a spear through the body before they knew the creatures were even around. Gaetano was supposed to stay put outside and guard the ship, but the creature threw a rock and didn't miss. So now they got one more grave to dig. And whose fault is that? Man, Bear, Pig!
That was great.
May they all rest in peace, except Gaetano.
You never want to sign up for an away mission on a shuttle or take a shuttle to like an archaeology symposium or something. Because in this show, shuttle trips never go well.
No.
So don't take a shuttle. But we're not taking our own advice, though. We'll be boarding a shuttle almost once a month in 2023 to go to various conventions and events and stuff. I can tell you that Allie will be on the Star Trek cruise at the end of February. And in March, it looks like Becca and I are going to be in Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeehaw!
Oh, boy.
That's
QuadCon. And QuadCon kind of moves around in that geographical area. So they also were in like Peoria, Illinois and places like that. Wisconsin, I think.
Cool.
So anyway, so they kind of travel around and do a few different shows a year. So we're going to do the Omaha, Nebraska one. And then I think the big one in Peoria is in June or July.
Okay, awesome.
April is the American Atheist Convention in Phoenix.
Oh, that's right. We'll be there too.
May is the American Humanist Association Conference in Denver.
We'll be there. We'll definitely do that one.
There.
When's the Phoenix one?
Phoenix is in April.
Okay.
It's Easter weekend.
Oh, possibly.
It always is.
Yeah, I'll possibly be there.
I will definitely be there. And more to come. But you can find out about all of our upcoming appearances at humanisttrek.com and click on events. I added a new thing just this week so that when you go there and you click on an event, it will show you our little cartoons of which ones of us are going to be there.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome.
We made Becca a cartoon.
Oh, good. Good. I wish I could be there to all of them, but I know y'all are in good hands, and I'm
just going to make Becca quiz people as they walk by.
Oh, and then give out like a t-shirt.
Little prizes. Yeah.
Or something. Oh, look out, guys. It's going to be a blast.
Well, we can't do any of that if we don't have the support of our patrons.
Let's get right to business.
Fine, I'm authorized to pay an equitable price. Federation has invested a great deal of money in our training. They're about due for a small return.
Listen, we pay off percentages. We're entitled to a little service for our money, huh?
Is this the way your citizens do business? Their right of petition?
They pay their percentages and the boss takes care of them.
Is there anything else?
Thank you, patrons.
Thank you, patrons.
We're looking forward to this, going to these conventions and doing these events and meeting with people. So that's going to be so much fun. You can become a patron and get access to every episode early. And there's some merch at different levels at patreon.com/humanisttrek. You can pledge as little as $3 a month. And it really does go a long way to support the production of this show. Of course, not everyone has the spare credits to give us some credits, and that's okay. There are a lot of great ways that you can help support the show here for free. You can leave a rating wherever you listen to the podcast. Leave us a review. I've been scanning sector for reviews.
Yeah.
And I'd love to read what you guys think and talk them on the air or put them on the website. You can share out our episodes on social media with your friends. And all of those are great ways to help us expand our audience and make the show even better.
I assume you're loitering around here to learn what efficiency rating I plan to give your cadets.
Trainees, to the briefing room. Is that all you got to say? What about my performance?
Aren't you dead?
I don't believe this was a fair test of my command abilities. There was no way to win.
There's no correct resolution. It's a test of character.
Now, what is that supposed to mean?
I am understandably curious.
May I ask you a question?
Who's been holding up the damn elevator?
All right, let's bring Becca in for the exciting answer to last week's challenge. Last time on Humanist Trek, you asked us...
In this episode, a previously unmentioned Starfleet, Brink is revealed. What is the rank? Extra points if you can identify the name of the person identified in this rank during the episode.
We both know this, right?
I'm going with ensign. I'm sticking with my answer.
We watched this.
Mm-hmm. We did.
Okay, I think it's well, who's ensign?
Let's split the what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
No.
Split the vote.
Let's bet on the split. I don't know. Something about splits.
Are you giving me the same answer, or are you giving me divided answers?
I think we're giving you different answers.
We're going to give you. So I think it's the Galactic High Commissioner Ferris.
Okay.
Because I'd never seen that before.
All right, Sarah.
And I think.
Oh, and what was his name?
Ferris. And I could be wrong.
And I think it's Ensign O'Neill.
Oh, fuck. Okay. Galactic High Commissioner Ferris.
Okay. The answer is... This episode marks the first appearance of a Starfleet rank of ensign.
Hey, all right.
Ensign O'Neill.
Hot damn.
Who the hell is a Galactic High Commissioner Ferris?
See, I was worried about this question with Sarah because I've watched shows with her when she's preparing.
Right.
She stops the tape every single word.
So do I.
And writes it down.
So do I.
And there was one episode.
That's what takes so long.
I don't remember what episode it was. She was watching... But she kept saying, what's this guy's name? She kept forgetting the guy's name
over and over
again.
I swear that they had
It wasn't this
ensign
one, but it was a different one.
at least once before so far. Well, damn it.
Not according to the interwebs.
Now you're a half a point ahead of me.
Okay, well, next week we'll be reviewing the Squire of Gothos. A powerful entity known as Trelane torments the crew of the Enterprise. What's our question?
Don't tell me it's some little kid again.
No.
Some might view Trelane's description of how he created the environment as an Easter egg pointing to future Trek. What could this Easter egg be foreshadowing?
What?
Environment. Holodeck, I think maybe. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, I bet you're right.
But I need to see the episode.
What I do remember of this episode is Trelane is a very Q-like character.
Oh.
That's what I remember about him.
Okay, I don't remember.
So yeah, I bet that's it.
I don't remember much.
All right, well, we'll lock it in, watch the episode,
and then change our minds. Or not.
All right, well, if you want to play along, no cheating, no Googling, set a course for your nearest social media app, but not Twitter, and post your answer. Use the hashtag Starfleet Challenge, and we'll pick our favorite to be the winner. Next time on Humanist Trek, Season 1, Episode 18, The Squire of Gothos. We'll see you next week.
Live long and prosper.
Kapla.
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcasts. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/humanisttrek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.